Hello, my friends. Today we're learning Bobabastra Daf Kuf Sameches. Today is the Yortzeit of my dear grandmother Rochel Masha Bas Yom Tov Litman. So all the learning today that I'm going to learn will be Le'ilu Nishmosa. Let's start from the two dots. והבעל נותן שכר, מהי טעמה? דאמר קרא וכתב ונתן, ויתנא דלא עבדינן אחי, שדיעו רבנן האישה כי אחד דלא לישי. So that we learned in the Mishnah that the husband who writes a get, he has to pay for the soifa for his work to write the get. So says the Gemara, what's the reason? Because it says in the pasuk the kosav and osan, who gives it? The husband. He gives a get, so he's the one who has to write it. Says the Gemara, today that we give the woman to pay for the get, what's the reason? Says the Gemara, because we don't want the husband to pay for it, because then maybe if he'll need to pay, he won't give the get, and the issue will be a guna. So therefore, we said let the woman pay, and therefore there will be no delays. We learned in the Mishnah, Kotvim shtar lo loveh af al pi she'en malveh imo, and the Vechulu says that the loveh needs to pay for the shtar. Pshita lo tzricha be'iska. So the Gemara asks, it's obvious that the loveh needs to pay for the document. He's benefiting from this loan. And that the Gemara says that the Chiddush is even a type of loan that's a iska that we learned in Bobi Metzia, machzis char, machzis alva. It's half alva and half investment. So there they're both gaining. Even in that case, the one who gets the iska, who's dealing with the iska, he needs to pay for the document. We learned in the Mishnah, Kotvim shtar lo mocher af al pi she'en lokeach imo, and the lokeach needs to pay for the document. Pshita lo tzricha b'ocher sadeh u'perata. So the Gemara's question is, in the case where you write a shtar mechira, we said the lokeach has to pay for it. Obviously, the lokeach is gaining. It's a big gain to buy a karka. The Gemara is not such a big gain. On that, the Gemara answers that even if it's someone selling his land when it's a bad land, so he's gaining that he's getting rid of his land. So maybe he should be paying for the shtar. No, the always the lokeach needs to pay. We learned in the Mishnah, En kotvim shtarei rusim, pshita lo tzricha, da'afilu tzur b'marabonon denichale lechamu al ikruveis. In the Mishnah it said that shtarei rusim, the one who pays for it is the husband. So the Gemara, obviously the husband pays for it. So the Gemara, no, the Chiddush is, even if the chosim is a Talmid Chacham, and it's a big schus to marry off your daughter to a Talmid Chacham, so you'd think maybe the father-in-law, the father of the girl, the father-in-law of the chosim will pay for it. No, even in such a case where he's a Talmid Chacham, the chosim is the one who pays. En kotvim shtarei risut v'kablanut. Pshita lo tzricha bebura. So we learned in the Mishnah that in a place where a guy is renting a field or he's getting it for a certain percentage of the yield of what it grows, he needs to pay for the shtar. So the Gemara says, obviously he's the one who's gaining. So the Gemara, no, even if it's a field that for a year or two you need to leave it empty, and only in a year or two you're going to start working on it, so there's no profit straight away, you'd think in such a case maybe the guy who owns a field will need to pay for the shtar. Kamash malon, that not. אין כותבים שטרי בירורים אלה מדעת שניהם. מה שטרי בירורים? אחת תרגמו שטרי טענת רבי ירמיה בר אבא אמר זה בורר לו אחד וזה בורר לו אחד. So we learned in the Mishnah that shטרי בירורים, you only write it if they're both there. So what is shטרי בירורים, the Gemara wants to know. So you say here they explain that it means shטרי tainus, so the Reuven tainus this tainus, and you write it down. Shimon tainus this tainus, and you write it down. And then once it's written down, you can't change, because you can't change your tainus. That's story tainos. And Rav Yirmiyah, the son of Abba, explains it means in a case where each one of the Balidinim chooses one judge, and then the two judges choose a third one. So you write a document saying Reuven chose Levi and Shimon chose Yehuda. So that document, that's story birurim. We learned in the Mishnah, Rav Shem Gamliel omer לשניים כותבים שניים לזה בעצמו ולזה בעצמו. למה בקופים על מידת סתום כמפליגי? דמר סברה קופים ומר סברה אין קופים. לא, דכולם קופים. ואחי ניתן דרב שם גמליאל, דאמר לי לא ניחא לי דתאה וזכותך כבי זכותי דדמת עלי כאריה ארבע. So we had a machloikis in the Mishnah of the story berurim with the tainus are written inside, how many documents they make, one or two. So Tanakama holds one, and Rav Shem Gamliel says each one gets a document. So says the Gemara, the machloikis between them, owi koif al midas toim. Because Rashbam explains, Midas Toivin, someone says, what's mine is mine and what's yours is yours, and we have nothing to do with each other. So here, this is the argument. One wants to write one star, and the other guy says, no, what's mine is mine, I want my star, and what's yours is yours, you have a star. So the Machlokes says, Tanakama says you only do one, holds koifim on Midas Toivin. We don't let a person go with Midas Toivin, and we force him to do one star. And Shim Gamliel says, en koifim, and if a guy wants to write a star each, we let him write a star each. So the Gemara, no, really everyone agrees that if someone's behaving Midas Toivin, we force him not to behave that way. And here what the Reb Shimon Gamliel hold, that you could write two stars, is because the person says, I don't want that my tainas are going to be written by you, and you're going to hold them, and you're going to always look into them and know what to taina back afterwards, and therefore let me write what I'm tainering will be by me, and what you tainering will be by you, and it won't be connected. Says the Mishnah, מי שפרע מקצת חובו והשליש את שטרו ואמר לו אם לא נתתי לך מכאן ועד יום פלוני תן לו שטרו הגיע הזמן ולא נתן, רבי יוסי אומר ייתן, רבי יהודה אומר לא ייתן. So the following cases, Reuven borrowed from Shimon £1,000 and came a date and he paid off £200. So now the star says £1,000. We can't leave the star by the malva, and we can't give it back to the loiva. So what do? They gave it to a third person to hold. And now the loiva, Reuven told the third person, Levi, listen, if by this and this date I don't pay off the rest, I owe 800, give back the whole star to the malva, and he'll have it, and then l'chorah he could be tovea the full £1,000. And obviously if I pay on time, we'll tear up the star. So what to do? It came the time, the date came, and he never gave the £800. So Rabbi Yossi says, yes, he made the deal, so you should give it back to the malva, to Shimon. And Rabbi Yehuda says, no, you should not give it back to the malva, because then he'll be able to be given £1,000, and we're going to see in the Gemara what's the machlokes. It says the Gemara, B'maikam ifligi Rabbi Yossi savar asmachta kanya, Rabbi Yehuda savar asmachta lo kanya. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rabba bar Avua, Amar Rabba lach כרבי יוסי, כי אתנו כמי דרב עמי, אמר לו, וכי מאחר שרבי יוחנן למדנו פעם ראשונה ושנייה לך כרבי יוסי, אני מעשר. ואין הלכה כרבי יוסי. Says the Gemara, what's the machlokes between Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yehuda in the Mishnah? Rabbi Yossi holds asmachta kanya. Asmachta means like a bet. If someone says, if this happens, I want you to do the following and I'm going to lose. It's like a bet. So here the loiva basically said, if I won't pay on time, if I won't pay until this date, the 800 I still owe, give it back to the malva, and then he'll be able to be giving me also the £200 that I paid already. So that's a type of bet. If you'd know, the loiva would know that he wouldn't pay on time the 800, you would never say such a thing, but he's expecting to pay on time. But that's called like a bet. When a person bets, he only bets because he thinks he's going to be right. Also here, he's only willing to this deal because he thinks he's going to pay on time. So Rabbi Yossi holds, asmachta is a good deal. And therefore, he lost the deal, he didn't pay on time, he gave it back to the malva. And Rabbi Yehuda argues and says, no, asmachta is not a good deal. Because if you'd really know that he wouldn't pay on time, that he'd lose a bet, he'd never agree to it. And therefore, asmachta is not a good thing. Rav Nachman says in the name of Rabba, the son of Avua, in the same of Rav, the halacha is like Rav Yossi, that asmachta is koina. When a case of asmachta came in front of Rav Ami, he said, what can I do? The Rabbi Yochanan taught us many times, first time and second time, the halacha is like Rabbi Yossi, the asmachta is kanya, so asmachta is kanya, I don't have what to do. And the Gemara finishes off and says, no, ein halacha ka Rabbi Yossi, the asmachta really is not koina. And if someone does a bet, he's not mechuyev to pay. Says a Mishnah, מי שנמחק שטר חובו, מעמיד עליו עדים, הוא בא לפני בית דין ועושים לו קיום. איש פלוני בן פלוני נמחק שטרו ביום פלוני, ופלוני קס"ח עמוד ב' עדיו. So the Mishnah says, someone who has a star that says that someone owes him money, and the star got rubbed out, so he brings Eidim who saw the star and comes in front of Bezdin, and Bezdin do a kiyum. They say, so-and-so, Ploni ben Ploni, Reuven ben Yaakov, his document got rubbed out on a certain day, and these are the Eidim who saw the document, and they write a new document. It says the Gemara, Tanu Rabanan, איזו קיומו במותיו תלת אבינה, אנו פלוני ופלוני ופלוני. הוציא בפלוני בן פלוני שטר מחוק לפנינו ביום פלוני, ופלוני ופלוני ידיו. ואם כתוב פה הזקקנו לעדותם של עדים ונמצאת עדותו מכוונת, גובה ואינו צריך להביא ראיה, ואם לאו צריך להביא ראיה. נקרא פסול, נתקרא כשר. נמחק או נטשטש, אם רשומו ניכר כשר. איך ידע מי נקרא, איך ידע מי נתקרא? אמר רב יהודה, נקרא הכרה של בית דין, נתקרא הכרה שאינו של בית דין. איך ידע מה הכרה של בית דין? אמר רב יהודה, מקום עדים הוא מקום הזמן ומקום התורף. אביי אמר שתי וערב. So the Brisa explained to you how the Beis Din do a kiyum when the star was rubbed out. So they write the following. We were sitting, three of us, Dayanim, Reuven, Shimon, and Levi. And then Ploini ben Ploini took out a star that's rubbed out, Yehuda ben Issachar, on this day. And his Eidim were Zvulun and Gad. And these Eidim were made that they saw that this Malva had a star, and we wrote the star. Said the Brisa. And if it says in this Kiyuma star that rubbed out that we checked the original Eidim, that means the Eidim who were made, they're not the Eidim who were in the star. They were just made that they saw the star. But if we checked and the original Eidim were actually kosher and it was a kosher star and the original Eidim actually signed on it, so then that means it's a Mekuyim de Kashtar. You don't need to be Mekayim it anymore because we checked that out. But if not, they only said these people were testified that this guy had a star with those Eidim inside, but we never checked those Eidim if they are false or true. So in that case, even if you have this new star, you need to be Mikayim it and prove that the original Eidim were kosher and this loan was really there. If, said the Brisa, if it got Nikra, so it's the star is possible. If in the Kareya it's kosher, and the Gemara is going to explain what's the difference of the type of getting torn when it's kosher and when it's not. But if it got rubbed out or got unclear, if it's still, you could read a little bit what it says, it's kosher. Says the Gemara, what's the difference between Nikra and Itkareya? Says Rav Yehuda, Nikra means it got Beis Din to it. Nitkareya means nothing to do with Beis Din, it got torn by mistake. And how do we know the difference between that and that? How do Beis Din normally tear up the star? Says Rav Yehuda that they tear up the place where the Eidim signed and the place of where the time of the date on the star, and the Torif, each star has two parts. Torif is the changing parts, the names, the amounts, the date, etc. And the Toifes is like in Hebrew, Tofes is like a fixed document, a Tofes that you need to fill in. So Torif is what changed. So when it's torn on these places where the Eidim sign and the Zman and the Torif, all the changing parts, that means Beis Din tore it up. Abaye says there's a different way how to tell if Beis Din tore it up. Though when Beis Din tear up a star, they tear it both ways, Shesti v'Erev, this way and this way, both ways of the star. That shows you that Beis Din tore it up, and therefore you can't be Mikayim such a star. But if it's just a normal torn in the middle, then Beis Din could be Mikayim the star. Says the Gemara story, Anu Aravai da'atu lepumedita da'ava ka'an se'ara de'inchi. Atu marvatayu lekamei da'abaya אמרו לי, ליך זימר שטרה וליכתב למר שטרה אחינה. עלי דאימית נסחת, לקית ננחת בידן. אמר לו, מה אבן לחום? דאמר רב ספרא, אין כותבים שני שטרות על שדה אחד, דין מטרף וידר טריף. אבא כתר דלי, אמר לי לספרא, זיל כתוב לו הוא על המחק ודב על הנייר, זה פסול. אמר לי רבא חבר מניו לאביי, בדין ברישומו ניכר, ותני נמחק או נטשטש עם רישומו ניכר כאשר, אמר לי מקאמין השטרה מעליה, על הפת ועלמה קאמינה. So the Gemara tells a story of these Arabs who came to Pumbedisa and they would steal lands, and not only they would steal the land, they would force the owner to give them the document that said that they own this land. So came the owners of the lands who were scared that the lands are going to be stolen together with the documents. They came to Abaye and they told him, please look at this, we are choishish, because these Arabs would come, steal the land and the document, and after a few years they'd go back to the place and leave the land. And now if the person bought the land, the real owner bought the land recently, he doesn't have a document, he doesn't have chazaka because the Arabs were in there. So the original owner who sold it to them could say it's mine because he has a chazaka, we know it used to belong to him. So they came to Abaye and asked Abaye, please write us an extra document. Look over here, we have a document that we own this land. Write us another document, the same document, and then when the Arabs are going to take our land together with a document, we'll have a document left. When they leave, we can prove that belongs to us. So Abaye told them, I can't do that, because Rav Safra said, you're not allowed to write 2 stories on one field. Why not? Because if Reuven has a star saying that he owns this field and he has a achrayas on it, that means if someone takes away from him, he could go to the seller and get back his money, or to the field that the seller sold on a later date. So what's going to happen? We're choishish that if he has such 2 documents that he owns the land, if someone takes away from him because, let's say, the seller owed someone money and the malva takes away from him, he's going to go and now he has 2 stories. He's going to go to 2 lekuchos of the seller and take from them each one a piece of land. He'll take a land double, because when he comes and takes the land, he gives them the star that he used to own the other land. He'll give it to one and then he'll give it to the other one, and he'll trick them. So therefore I can't write you 2 stories. So these people in Pumbedita were bothering Abaye, and they're telling us, please, they're driving him crazy, we need another document. So Abaye told his soifa, the one who writes the stories, go write them, and write them a document, write a star, and the way we understand it now, write an original star saying they own this land, and then rub out that part. And the place of the Edim at the bottom, that will be on parchment that was never rubbed out. And we know that the din in such a case, such a star is possible, so we'll give them a postel star, they won't know it's possible, and they'll leave us alone. So Rav Acha bar Minyumi told Abaye, how could you do such a thing? Because you're writing an original star saying Reuven owned this land, and then you rubbing that out and writing it on again, Reuven owned this land, and then the Edim were written only once. But if they'll come to Bezdin will say, right, it's possible, the new star that was written on top is possible, but the original one is kosher, and maybe there'll be left over from the original, they won't delete it very well. The original thing that they wrote on it, that he owned the land, won't be deleted, and from there they could recognize, and that's not written, that was written on fresh parchment. And they'll say, oh, it's kosher, because we learned in the brisa just before that if it got rubbed out or smudged, it's good, if you could recognize. So Abaye told Rav Acha bar Minyumi, do you think I meant to say that the original star that you're writing is going to be a good star and then delete it? No, at the beginning just write Aleph Beis, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, wherever you want, rub all that out, and then write on top of that Reuven on the star. Sorry. And therefore, the Rishon Unika of the beginning doesn't have any meaning. And what's written on top, it's possible, because it's U'alamchak, V'edav Alaniyara, that's possible, and therefore there's no chashash for any mistake to happen over here. Thank you very much. I wish that my grandmother should be mispal for all the kids, the grandkids, the great-grandkids, all the family, for refuah, for atzlocha, for Yeshua, and for the whole Klal Yisrael, that we should be zoicha for geula kroiva b'meira b'yameinu.